Selfish software will 10x your productivity. Here's why and how. Let me show you. All right. So this all started with an article that I read, again, by Every. It's called Selfish Software. And the point is essentially to build software purely for yourself, right? We always talk about products. We talk about, I want to build a SaaS. I want to sell it to people. And while that might be the ultimate goal, I think selfish software is key for your own personal productivity. And why now is why it's now the right time to build selfish software is because it's easier than ever to build software. And the case, being with AI tools to build software, vibe coding, that kind of stuff. But I want to take it, and I have taken it even a step further and made it even easier to get started. If you vibe code your tool, you still need infrastructure, still need to understand some stuff. And I think an easier step is to just build yourself small LLM tools, essentially system prompts, right? And why that is even easier is because you can essentially have the LLM generate that tool from content you consume or things you look at or learnings you've made, and then use that every day in your workflows. And it's essentially a 3 to 5 minute thing, right? And how you can do that is essentially going into Claude. I don't know if you've ever used Claude Projects or GPT Projects. It works very, very similar. And for example, I went in and I have a selfish software tool that I built myself, very meta, for this scenario where I want to reflect on reading. One example. So I threw the URL in here, said, okay, scrape this URL that's built in, that it will just transform that URL into Markdown so that it gets injected into the context and I can use it, right? Gives me key insights, gives me reflection tasks. So this is something that I built purely for myself, this workflow of I read a lot of stuff and I reflect on it. But before I built this tool, I didn't consciously do it, right? Like I would read and I would walk away, come back again, read again, think about it in the back of my head, but there was no real system or process around it. And so now every time I want to do that, I have a tool that I just use and I go in and say, hey, give me the insights and let's ask some questions about this, right? Let's take it one step further. And I'm going to show you how that looks like in terms of system prompt. If you don't know what a system prompt is, it's essentially how you can give instructions to something like Claude, some LLM, some AI tool for a certain workflow. Normally the system prompt is very broad, like the GPT system prompt is essentially do everything for everyone because they have to, because it's such a generic tool. Like the person that goes in and uses GPT, they don't know, like people don't know who they are. Like OpenAI doesn't know who their user is and what they need to do. So it needs to be very broad. But with a system prompt like this, I can essentially give it one very specific workflow because I know that whenever I use this tool, this is the workflow that I want, right? And this is essentially software, but it's built on top of the LLM, which is such an omni-use technology piece. So it can be used for a lot of things, that it is software that's built in 3 minutes. Even faster than vibe coding, because then all of a sudden we're talking about UI. Is it usable? Is it easy to use? Like you understand it, but it can still be friction. And this is just a chat. So we're sticking with whatever interface we're already familiar with, which makes this easier, right? And so what the thing does is it has some functions. We transition from consumption to reflection. We provide thoughtful prompts, blah, 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 right? And what I've done is I've actually extracted this, or I've had the AI write the system prompt for me from another chat that I was having with it, which is here. And so this is essentially my software, right? I take this prompt. You can go to a prompt library. You can check out. I will provide some system prompts in the description. And then you go into Claude. You open a project or you create a project, new project. Similar things in GPT, it all works kind of the same. And then you say set project instructions. You plop that in here. And so every time you use this, it will use these system instructions to guide you along the lines of that workflow. So this essentially, is your own software, selfish software. If you want to take it further, you can use something like V0. You can create actual software, whatever the software means, right? Like I feel like those lines are a bit blurring. Build the UI around it, build some certain workflows around it, but I would only do it if it really is, 10xing the process here, because you can most of the time live with the drawback of this being a chat-based system or limited workflow over, creating full-blown software. But yeah, if you see yourself doing things over and over and over, like for example, I used Claude before I built my own tool here. I used Claude for 6 months, almost every day. And then I decided to build this software because I had these workflows and they were so annoying and they were happening so often that it was time to do it. But that's a conscious decision you should be making, and you should try to optimize for the lowest amount of friction to get started, which is essentially these system prompts and using them within Claude or GPT. All right, that's it. If any of the stuff sounded interesting to you, let me know in the comments. If you've built software yourself, let me know as well. And I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.